It's that time of the year again, the season where everyone gets into this holiday season. It's said that the reason of the season is Jesus. Jesus is the reason why we celebrate these holidays at the end of the year. However, some skeptics like to say that Jesus' birth and the narrative, the story around him, is based entirely on pagan sources. And all of our activities we engage in are also pagan. Things like Christmas trees and lights and presents and what have you are all pagan concepts. However, we are going to look into some of these claims to see if there is any merit. Some atheists will like to try to show parallels between Jesus and other pagan entities or deities. First, many atheists like to bring up Mithra, and others take this claim with a horse, and others like this too. So the first question that we'll be looking into is Jesus a copy of these kinds of deities of the past? It's claimed that Mithra was born on December 25th. However, we don't even have evidence that Jesus was born on December 25th. But we won't even be focusing entirely on that point. I will go over why we celebrate it on the December 25th later on. So stay tuned for that. However, to try to inquire about these types of claims, we first need to ask what God the person is actually talking about, that Jesus is copied from or paralleled with, and what have you. If they're talking about the Roman god, then they're talking about Mithras, not Mithra. Mithra is a Persian god. The reason why this point is really a good thing to go over is many online atheists do not support this argument with the detail that we talk about here. You know, are they talking about the Persian one or are they talking about the Roman one? So we have to take into account about which geography of the god that we're attempting to say there's a parallel with. So, looking at Mithras, is Mithra born of a virgin? Well, no. Mithras is born out of a rock, fully grown. There's no parallel to Jesus in this type of story. Well, was Mithra born on December 25th? Well, no. There's no primary sources that support this type of idea. There are no historians that try to conclude that Mithra was born on this type of date. Now, when looking onto the Roman god Mithras, was Mithras born on December 25th? No. Well, was he born from a virgin? Absolutely not. We don't have any evidence to conclude this. So, next we can ask, if Jesus was not born on December 25th, then why do we celebrate Christmas on December 25th? Why do we celebrate Jesus' birth on that day if he actually wasn't born on that day? As I said, there isn't even any historians that necessarily believe that Jesus was born on that day. So, what gives? Well, we know it has nothing to do with the pagan world, so that's the first point that I'd like to make. However, the reason early Christians believed Jesus was born on December 25th is actually fairly simple. People of antiquity of this time frame believed a prophet would die on the same day that he was conceived. So, since the Jews believed that Jesus has died on March 25th, which is the feast of that time period, then they would just look at the 9 months after. As in, babies always stay in the womb for about 9 months. So 3 plus 9 is 12, getting you to December 25th. Considering, like I said, they believed that a prophet would die on the same day that he was conceived. And again, March 25th was his death, then his birth must have been December 25th. These Christians would argue. Now, I'm not saying Christians should believe this. I don't think there's a whole lot of Christians that necessarily will go with this kind of concept. And there may not even be an agreement on whether or not Jesus died on March 25th in the first place either. You know, some early Christians put Jesus' death around March 28th. Others had it in April. But December 25th seemed to be the consensus view in the early church. Hippolytus, he gives us a date from the early church, talking about, quote, 8 days before the calendar of January, end quote, is what the date that he put as the day of Jesus' birth. So, this date of December 25th, it predates any pagan festival by 200 years of the writing of Hippolytus that I just gave. By 354 A.D., the calendar of Philocalus states that Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea on the 25th of December. Not long after, the Bishop of Rome declares it to be the official birth of Jesus. So no, Christmas is not a pagan parallel or a stolen concept from pagan antiquity. At least not from the virgin birth and the date of December 25th. These are entirely Christian concepts. Now, well, I should say this too. Whether or not there's other virgin birth parallels is a slightly different story. But with the Mithras, and what have you, these we know were not virgin births, at least not in the same way that Jesus was virgin birth, had a virgin birth. So these are entirely different concepts that we see. But there's a lot of other arguments that people would like to try to say that Jesus' birth does parallel with other virgin birth stories, and I can go into some of these as we go on. And even if some of those were to be true, other systems that people like to try to say, I don't think any Christian should be too concerned about that either, because, well, this was a common thing within ancient motifs, believing that some figure was high among the gods, and this is how we end up getting some of these virgin birth stories from these types of people. It kind of shows the validity of this individual. It brings them up and puts them into a higher status, if you have, in that kind of terminology. So these are the kind of things that I think are really important and fun to kind of go over this time of year. That, as you are celebrating with your Christmas tree and celebrating the birth of Christ, there's nothing to do with paganism and these types of things. It's entirely Christian concepts, and they all date back to the early Christian period. So there's nothing to be concerned about from a Christian perspective about whether or not you're allowed to celebrate Christmas is the main premise of this video. But if you guys would like to see further content on whether or not there are other types of pagan parallels to Jesus in antiquity, then let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe this video for more content like this, and thank you all for watching.